Now, this video is part of my Hashcat course where I show you how to use Hashcat and crack various hashes. May this be a warning to you and your family why you shouldn't use bad passwords on your Wi-Fi networks. Don't use your telephone number as an example. How long do you think it'll take hackers to crack a 10-digit password on a Wi-Fi network? In this example, I've got a laptop with a GPU in it. I'm going to crack a 10-digit password. Let's see how long it takes. Press enter. Hashcat is starting. Hashcat allows hackers to crack passwords very, very quickly. And this is only a laptop. Notice here, it took 4 seconds to crack this password. The password in this example is really, really bad. 001 555 1234. 10-digit Wi-Fi password. 4 seconds to crack with a laptop. Here's another example with a computer. We are cracking a 10-digit Wi-Fi password in this example using that computer. As you can see, Hashcat is starting. According to this, it could take 2 hours to crack this password. But actually, it took 18 seconds to crack the password, which is 800 555 0123. Really bad passwords. But notice, in the worst case scenario, it would have taken 2 hours to crack it with a single GPU in that computer. And that isn't even the latest GPU on the market today. It's only an AMD Radeon RX 6900 XT. In this laptop, I have a more modern GPU, but in the worst case scenario, it would have taken 2 hours and 48 minutes to crack a 10-digit password. But it didn't take very long. It only took 4 seconds to crack that password. Hashcat-I shows us the GPU running in this laptop. As you can see here, it's an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4090 laptop GPU. Now, what's interesting is the laptop has a more modern GPU, but it only supports 984.3 kilohashes per second. Computer there has an older GPU, but it supports 1065.4 thousand kilohashes a second. So it's faster than the laptop. But that also makes sense because this is a laptop constrained by space, and that's got a massive GPU in it. So just be aware, GPUs have different performance levels. More modern GPUs are obviously a lot quicker, but they can be used by hackers and security researchers and put into farms where many GPUs are combined together to speed this up even more. Don't use bad passwords. Now, in the real world, hackers and researchers will use rigs like the following with many GPUs to speed up the cracking of Wi-Fi passwords or other hashes. They may also even use GPUs in the cloud to speed this up. In this example, over 3,500 Wi-Fi passwords were cracked very easily by a security researcher. This kind of stuff happens all the time. Moral of the story is don't use bad Wi-Fi passwords. Don't use your telephone number as your Wi-Fi password. Now, people often say this when I demonstrate these kind of attacks. No one uses bad passwords. TP-Link routers like this by default use 8-digit passwords. Never use the default password on a TP-Link router. Always change it to something much more secure. Use alphanumeric passwords. Use special characters as part of your password. Don't use 8-digit passwords or 10-digit passwords. Make your password 20 characters in length and mix your characters to make it much harder to crack. These kind of demonstrations are not possible if you use better passwords or you use WPA3. In today's world, you want to use WPA3 or at least protected management frames or PMF on your Wi-Fi networks. Don't just use standard WPA version 2. You want to use WPA version 3. Now, in this video, I'm going to show you how to attack a Wi-Fi network using Hashcat and other tools. In a lot of demonstrations out there, including some of my demonstrations, you need a client to connect to the Wi-Fi network. So you need someone with a phone or another device to connect to the Wi-Fi network. And you need to capture the four-way handshake by knocking the client off the Wi-Fi network. And then when the client reconnects, you capture the four-way handshake and then crack the password. You don't need to do that any longer. With the tools that I'm going to demonstrate in this video, you don't even need a client. You can simply attack a Wi-Fi network. Again, use WPA version 3 to stop these kind of attacks. So I'm going to show you an example using a WPA version 2 network. I'm attacking my own Wi-Fi networks. I have given myself permission to attack them. Never attack a Wi-Fi network that you don't own or have permission to attack. Again, I've given myself permission to attack my own Wi-Fi networks so that I can demonstrate how Hashcat works. Now, if you want to follow along, you need a Wi-Fi network that you can test against. You also need a laptop or another device with a GPU so that you can leverage the power of a GPU. Now, you don't have to use a GPU. You can use a CPU, but CPUs are very, very slow compared to GPUs, so it's much better to use a GPU. Even if you've got an older GPU, just means it's going to take longer to crack the hashes, but the principles are the same. If you don't have a GPU, just use a CPU. It's going to take much, much longer, but you can learn how to use Hashcat with just a CPU as an example. What you'll also need is Kali Linux or another version of Linux running within a virtual machine or on a dedicated computer. In my example, I'm using Kali within VMware Workstation Pro. VMware Workstation Pro is free now, so you can download it for free and then download Kali from the Kali website. I've covered how to set up Kali in other videos, so I'll link them as part of this course. I'm not going to cover that here, so we're assuming that you've got Kali within a virtual machine. You also need a Wi-Fi adapter that supports monitoring and injection mode. Now, in my example, I'm using an Alfa network adapter. I purchased this myself. Alfa not sponsoring me to say this, but Alfa adapters are fantastic. They have given me adapters like this in the past. But in this example, I'm simply going to use this Wi-Fi adapter. It's one that I've purchased. One of the disadvantages of this adapter is it only supports 2.4 gigahertz. You need to buy another adapter if you want to hack 5 gigahertz or 6 gigahertz. You need to buy an adapter like this. But in my example, I'm going to simply attack a 2.4 gigahertz network using this adapter. So what I'll do is plug it into my laptop. And when I do that, VMware asks me, do I want to connect this to the host or to the virtual machine? I'm going to connect it to my Kali virtual machine. So that adapter will now be available within Kali Linux. So as an example, I can type iwconfig, and as you can see, the WLAN 0 is available. I could also use the command iwdev, newer command, and you can see that WLAN 0 is now available. At the moment, the mode is managed. That is the default. We need to change the mode to monitor mode to be able to attack a Wi-Fi network. I'm going to show you all those steps in this video. I'm now going to show you how to download and install Hashcat on this laptop, as well as the NVIDIA drivers, as well as the Cuda Toolkit, which you need if you want to run Hashcat on a device like this and leverage the GPUs or on another device. This will often depend on the device that you buy. Again, this computer hasn't got an NVIDIA GPU, it's got an AMD GPU, so different software would be required. But in this example, I'm going to show you how to download and install the relevant software for an NVIDIA GPU. My team and I have created a PDF which you can download as part of this course. Information in that PDF includes requirements. In our example, we're using a Windows 11 computer, so PC or laptop. You need to run a Kali Linux VM so that you can attack a Wi-Fi network. So in this example, I have got Kali running within VMware Workstation Pro on this laptop. I'll show you in this video how to use the relevant Kali commands to attack a Wi-Fi network. Now, you don't have to use a Kali Linux VM. You could have a physical computer that's running Kali natively as an example, or another device where you've used to capture the Wi-Fi information so that you can crack the password. You need a Wi-Fi network interface card that supports monitor and injection mode. And in this example, I'm going to use an external adapter. And then you need a GPU. So could be with OpenCL or Cuda support. Okay, so enough talking. Let's download Hashcat and get started. So in the PDF, we give you the links to Hashcat, or you can just search for that. So go to hashcat.net/Hashcat. At the top of the page, we can see the latest release of Hashcat at the time of this recording, version 6.2.6. So I'm going to download that and save that to my downloads directory. If you want to get older versions of Hashcat, scroll down, and what you'll find as an example is older releases of Hashcat. Again, if you want to use the older method in Hashcat, you need to download an older version of Hashcat to be able to crack older four-way handshakes. Okay, so that software is downloaded. So what I'll do here is extract the zip file and just extract it to the default directory. And there you go, Hashcat has now been extracted. So what I'll do now is open up a CMD prompt in that directory. So what I'm going to do is type the command hashcat-I. That will give us information about Hashcat. Notice we told that it failed to initialize the NVIDIA RTC library. The Cuda SDK toolkit is not installed or incorrectly installed. You need this for proper device support and utilization, so it's falling back to OpenCL. So what I'll do is cancel that by pressing Ctrl-C, and scrolling up, we can see that we have an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4090 in this laptop. as well as Intel Arc graphics. So we need the right software to be able to properly use Hashcat. Really easy way, once again, to check what's going on is Hashcat-I, and that tells us if we've got any problems. Again, in the PDF that we supplied, we show you how to download Hashcat. You can use 7-zip if you want to. I didn't do that here. But basically, we are going to download the software and then run it. You could use Hashcat help to see information about Hashcat. I like I because it shows us the GPUs in the computer. With help, you sometimes have to wait a while. So on the desktop, if I type Hashcat-I here, you can see here it says unsupported AMD runtime version, falling back to OpenCL. And what this computer has got is an AMD Radeon RX 6900 XT GPU. So different GPU in that device once again versus the laptop. I'm now going to show you how to download and install the NVIDIA graphics driver as well as the Cuda toolkit. If you haven't got an NVIDIA GPU as an example, or you aren't interested in this section, jump to this timestamp where I'll show you how to start using Hashcat. So what we need to do is download the NVIDIA graphics driver. Again, in the PDF, we've got all the links that you can use to download the software. So on the NVIDIA website, I'm going to download the NVIDIA app and save that to my downloads directory. Now, while I'm waiting for the driver to download, I'm going to download the Cuda toolkit from the NVIDIA website. So developer.nvidia.com, download the toolkit. You've got to specify your operating system. So in my example, it's Windows, x64 architecture. I'm using Windows 11. I'm going to download a local exe file, and this is about 3 gig in size. So I'm going to click download to download that software. So the Cuda toolkit is downloading. In the meantime, I'll install the NVIDIA driver. So double click on the executable, click yes to allow it to make changes. Now in my example, software is already installed, so I'm going to click upgrade to upgrade it. I'm going to agree to the license and continue. Software is now being installed. Now again, in the PDF, we give you all the instructions to download the software. So have a look at the PDF if you're not sure. The driver that we're going to use is the Game Ready driver. So I'm going to select that and click Next. We're going to optimize games and creative applications and click Next. We're going to enable the NVIDIA overlay and click Next. I'm not going to worry about redeeming rewards, so I'm going to skip to the app. And I'm going to go to Drivers and click Download to download the driver. So this is about 568 meg in size. It's now preparing packages. So now I can click Install to install the driver. I'm going to say yes to allow the app to make changes. We're going to select a custom installation of the driver. We're going to select Clean Install at the bottom here and then click Continue. It's now preparing to install the graphics driver. Okay, so laptop is now rebooting. Okay, so my Windows updates have now decided to make a change to the laptop. Okay, laptop is now rebooted, so I'll log in. Okay, so it was uninstalling the previous driver, so I'm going to click Install to install the latest driver. Click Yes to allow the app to make changes. Go to Custom Installation. We're going to do a clean install. Click Continue. It now says preparing to install the graphics driver. And there you go, installing graphics driver. And there you go, installation has finished, so I can click Close. I don't need to reinstall the driver, so what I can do now is close this. And in my case, unfortunately, the download of the Cuda toolkit got broken because the computer rebooted. But fortunately, in preparation for this video, I previously downloaded the software. So this is the Cuda driver, so I'll double click on that. It's about 3.1 gig in size. I'll click Yes to allow the app to make changes to the device. I'm going to use the temp directory to extract files and click OK. Files are now being extracted. It's now checking system compatibility. I obviously want to install the software, so I'm going to click Continue. You need to agree to the license agreement, so make sure that you read through that and then click Agree and Continue. I'm going to go for an express installation and click Next. Now it picks up that there's no supported version of Visual Studio installed. I'm okay with that, so I'm going to click I understand and then click Next to continue with the installation. Software is now being installed. We now need to click Next. And as you can see, the NVIDIA installer has finished, so I can click Close. So notice the difference now. If I go to my Hashcat directory, open up CMD here, and type Hashcat-I, so uppercase I, we are not getting the errors that we got previously. Now, it took it a while to display, but there's the command. We can see Cuda information, Cuda version 12.7. We can see once again that we've got an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4090 a GPU in this laptop. That's device number 1. That becomes important because when we run Hashcat, we may have multiple GPUs in the computer and obviously the CPU. We need to tell Hashcat which device to use. We've got OpenCL, platform 1. We can see OpenCL Cuda 12733. Notice NVIDIA GeForce 4090. And scrolling down, we've got OpenCL platform ID number 2. Device backend is 3. And here we've got our Arc graphics. So I'll clear the screen here and run Hashcat again, but with --help. That gives you help information about Hashcat. We found that when we ran the man pages for Hashcat, some of the output was incorrect, but help was correct. Now, a lot of output is displayed here. Here's the command again. We can see a whole bunch of options. M is hash type as an example. -V is the version. I will cover a bunch of options in this course, but please note, it's important that you look at the documentation if you're not sure. We can see options here as an example. Are we using CPU? Are we using GPU for a specific device type, etc.? But that's enough talking, I think. So now I'm going to show you how to use hcxtools and other tools within Kali Linux to capture the hash so that it can be cracked. Again, my team and I have created a PDF which you can download, which shows you all of these commands in a lot of detail. I'm going to demonstrate them now, but hopefully between the video and the PDF, you will be able to do this yourself and follow along. Okay, so I've connected my Wi-Fi adapter to the computer. I'll just show you that process again. So I've got my network adapter over here. All I'm going to do is plug it into the computer. So I'll plug it in and VMware asks me, do I want to connect it to the host or the virtual machine? In my case, I'm going to connect it to the virtual machine, which means that if I type iwdev in Kali, it's shown as being available. It's in managed mode, or to use the old command, iwconfig shows me that WLAN 0 is available. It's in managed mode. The next command we need to use is sudo systemctl stop network manager.service. This basically stops the network manager service. So in Kali, sudo systemctl stop network manager service. I'll put in my sudo password, and that's now being stopped. We want to do the same thing with the WPA supplicant service. So we want to stop both those services. So here we go, sudo systemctl stop WPA supplicant service. So both those services have now been stopped. We then want to use mon-ng. Now again, iwdev shows us that WLAN 0 is currently of type managed. We want to change it to monitor mode. So we're going to use the command sudo mon-ng start WLAN 0. So I'll press enter there. And what you'll notice now is it's in monitor mode. So if I use the command iwdev again, notice the interface name has changed to WLAN 0 mon. Type is monitor. Scrolling up, it was previously WLAN 0 type managed. So it's now in monitor mode. I'll just clear the screen here and use the old command iwconfig. Notice interface name has changed and the mode is monitor. iwdev does the same thing. We need to have the interface in monitor mode to be able to monitor traffic and capture traffic on the Wi-Fi network. Now we need to determine the MAC address of the Wi-Fi access point that we're going to attack. We could attack all Wi-Fi networks, but we don't want to do that. We only want to attack a specific Wi-Fi network. So the first thing we need to do is get the MAC address and information like the channel so that when we run the hcxdumptoll, we are limiting the attack to a specific MAC address. So we're going to use TCP dump and a Berkeley packet filter or BPF file to limit the network that we attack. A lot of demonstrations out there don't show you this or show it to you incorrectly. So I'm going to show you this fully. So the first thing we want to do is determine the MAC address and other information about the access point that we're going to attack. So I'll clear the screen. So the command we're going to use is sudo aero dump ng WLAN 0 mon, or whatever your interface number is. So that will depend on what your interface is. And then you need to determine the network that you're going to attack. So I'll stop this now because it's already discovered the network. This is the network that we want to attack. I'm going to attack this TP-Link network. That's my own little network. This is the MAC address of the access point that we want to attack. and notice the channel. We need that information. So make a note of this because we're going to need the MAC address as well as the channel when we use the next command. So again, make sure that you get the MAC address of the access point and the channel that you're going to attack, because now we're going to use TCP dump to create a BPF filter. We want to filter which network we attack. So we're going to create the filter and use that with the hcxdumptoll. We need this BPF file so that we limit which network we attack, basically. Okay, so the command is sudo TCP dump. Copy the rest of the information here, but substitute this with the MAC address of your access point. So we're basically going to specify that all traffic sent from this access point or any broadcast traffic to or from that access point is going to be captured. We need both the access point's MAC address as well as the broadcast address because we want to capture all the traffic to the access point or from the access point. We want all traffic either to the broadcast address or the specific access point's MAC address. The D option here outputs the filter in a format suitable for hcxdumptoll. So make sure that you type this command exactly as it is. Obviously, you could change the file name and you need to change the MAC address of your access point. So what I've done here is type sudo TCP dump -s 65,535. So all port numbers. We are going to capture traffic for a 802.11 radio, so Wi-Fi network. The Wi-Fi address is this MAC address, which is the MAC address of my access point, or MAC address being broadcasts -DD, and then we're going to save that information in a file called attack.bpf. So if I type ls now, notice we've got that file there. If I cat that file, we'll see some information like the following in the file. The moral of the story is we need that file with the hcxdumptoll to limit the network that we attack. So we're going to use this command, sudo hcxdumptoll. We are using the WLAN 0 mon interface. The channel is channel 5 in this example, but in my example, if I run error-dump-ng again, is channel 8. That's the information you should have copied. So channel 8 for our specific Wi-Fi network. We're going to use A because this is a 2.4 gigahertz network. So we're going to specify specifically 2.4 gigahertz. So make sure that you type A there if it's 2.4 gigahertz. The filter that we're using is attack.bpf, which is the file that we previously created. Could be any name. So just use the --bpf and the file that you've created. And we're going to write this or save this information into this pcapng file called new capture2. This could be any name that you like. Okay, so sudo hcxdumptoll. Interface is WLAN 0 mon. Channel, in my example, is 8. It's 2.4 gigahertz. I'm going to specify A here. The BPF filter that we're going to use is attack.bpf. We're going to write or save that information to new capture2.pcapng. So I'll press enter there. Again, this could be any name you wanted. And notice the tool is now running. It's picked up the specific network. Notice at the top here, this is really important. We've got R13PS. The access point that we're attacking is this TP-Link A1D1 network. So in our PDF, we give you the information of what that means. We basically want to crack our specific network. So in this example, it's TP-Link C0B4. We need to have either a plus under P. So here there's no plus under P to show that we've captured the PMKID information, or a plus under 3, so the number 3, to show that we've captured the ePOL handshake. Once you've done that, you can press Ctrl-C to stop the attack. Take note once again of the MACs. Remember the MAC access point, so the MAC address of the access point. Scan frequency shows that we're on 2.4 gigahertz here. You should leave this for a while to capture information, so you can just leave this for a while. Now, the advantage of this attack is that you don't need a client to connect to the network, but I'll just demonstrate what happens if I do connect it. At the moment, there's nothing under 3, but if I connect to that Wi-Fi network from my phone, so I'll connect to that now, what you'll notice is suddenly plus appears under 3. ePOL messages have been captured. So the ePOL handshake was captured. I already had the PMKID information under P, but in this example, I captured it all. So I'll press Ctrl-C now to finish that. So type ls. Notice we've got this new capture2 pcapng file. So we've basically captured the information, and now all we have to do is crack the hash. But just for some housekeeping, we'll start the Network Manager service and the WPA supplicant service once again. So I'll paste both those commands in. So once again, I've started both those services. Now the important part. We need to convert that PCAP-NG file into the correct format that Hashcat expects, which is HC 22,000. The 2200 method, which I demonstrated, only works on older versions of Hashcat. So when I did my initial demonstration, notice I was using the type 22,000 for this specific hash on this laptop. But on that computer, notice 2500. But I'm using an older version of Hashcat here, 623. Later versions of Hashcat don't support this. So if you try a hcxapx file and it doesn't work because you're trying to use 2500 on a later release of Hashcat, then just go back to using, say, 623 of Hashcat. So get an older version of Hashcat, and then you'll be able to crack that. So as an example here, it was already cracked, so I'll use the show command to show the password for that Wi-Fi network. So the command again is sudo hcxpcap-ng-tool to convert this pcap-ng file to the specific hash that Hashcat is expecting. So I'll press enter there, put in my password, and notice it's processed the pcap-ng file. So if I type ls now, I've got this hash HC 22,000 file. So what I'll do is browse to that file. So open folder. Here's the file. So I'll copy that. And now I'm going to go into Windows. So rather than using Kali within a virtual machine now, I'm going to go to my desktop, Hashcat 626, and I'm going to paste that file. I'm going to override the previous file that I had in Hashcat. So I'm going to replace that. Now it actually already cracked this file. So there's a pot file here. So what I'm going to do is delete that file and force Hashcat to re-crack this hash. If I don't do that, it'll just tell us that it's already cracked. So what I'll do is clear the screen, and the command I'm going to use once again is hashcat-a. This tells us that we're using a brute force attack. The device that we're using is device 1, which is my GPU. The type that we're going to use is cracking Wi-Fi networks. This is the hash that we're going to crack. And here we're saying that we are using 10 digits to crack the password. So this would imply that we know what the length of the password is. I will show you in other videos how to do a range of digits as an example. Now, before I run that, in the PDF, we've got information showing you the relevant commands that get used. So once again, A3 means brute force attack. So this is the attack mode. -M0 specifies, in this example, that it's MD5. But that's not what I'm doing here. I am doing a Wi-Fi crack. So I'm going to crack a Wi-Fi network. On the Hashcat website, they've got this really good document, cracking WPA WPA2 with Hashcat. And they tell us that 22,000 is WPA PMKID plus EPOL. And they tell us that 22,000 is a hash line that combines PMKIDs and EPOL message pairs in a single file. Having all the different handshake types in a single file is more efficient and saves GPU cycles compared to the older method, 2500. So they give you a whole bunch of reasons of why you want to do it this way. And then they also give you commands similar to what I've shown you of how to stop the services and do various other things. But in our example, we are limiting the attack to a specific Wi-Fi network. So we're using BPF filters, and I'm showing you this in a lot more detail and hopefully makes it much easier to understand. So which hash mode are you using? What's the name of the file that you're attacking? So here's example 0 hash, and then the mask of what you're using to crack the password. In this example, we're using a 6-character password attempt where $A includes uppercase letters, lowercase letters, digits, and special characters. You can find the full list of character sets on the Hashcat website. $L, a lowercase alphabet. U, uppercase alphabet. D, digits, so 0 to 9. And that's the example we're using in this video. H is 0 to 9, as well as A, B, C, D, E, F. And then we have uppercase. S are special characters as listed here. And then we've got A, which is a lowercase alphabet. U, uppercase alphabet. D, digits. S, special characters. So if you want to cover all the characters, then just use A. And then B, we've got 0x00 to 0xFF. So in our example, once again, hashcat-A3 means brute force. Hash mode here is Wi-Fi cracking. So WPA version 2 hashes. This is the name of the file with the hashes. And this is the mask. In this case, it's 8 digits. But in my example, I'm using 10 digits. And then what's not shown here is device. Which device are we using? In my example, I'm using device 1, which is the NVIDIA GPU in this laptop. So in my example, we're using Hashcat. Attack mode is brute force. Device is 1. I'll show you that again in a moment. We're using 22,000, which is the new way of cracking WPA version 2 rather than 2500. This is the name of the file that we're going to crack. And in this example, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 digits. So I'll press enter. Hashcat is starting up. In this example, we're using the NVIDIA GPU. S shows us the status, but it's actually already cracked it. It went so fast. And there you go. It cracked the password already. Took all of 4 seconds to crack it. It's doing 938,000 kilo hashes per second. Password is shown here. Didn't take very long. So again, there is the command. The device is 1 because if I use the command hashcat-I, and notice it takes a while for the backend to start up, can take it a while. If I scroll up here, we can see that platform ID 1 GPU is the NVIDIA 4090 GPU. And scrolling up, when I ran that command, that's the device that was used rather than device 2 or device 3. Notice these 2 were skipped. This is the one that was used. And again, took it 4 seconds to crack the password. Don't use bad passwords like this on your Wi-Fi networks. Make sure that you use good passwords. Now again, this video is part of my course teaching you Hashcat. In this video, I showed you how to brute force a Wi-Fi password using Hashcat. I showed you how to install NVIDIA software as an example so that you could leverage the GPU in your laptop or your computer. I've shown you how you can attack a Wi-Fi password using the new recommended method from the creators of Hashcat. So 22,000, where we are combining PMKIDs and EPOL message pairs into a single file to make this more efficient and make it quicker to crack passwords. The old method can still be used. So 2500 can still be used, but you need an older release of Hashcat. Like in this example, I'm using 623. So if I type that command again, notice it tells me that I need to use the show command to display the password because it's already been cracked. This 10-digit hcxapx file was already cracked. So notice the difference. hcxapx mode is 2500. In the new version, we've got an hc22000 file and the mode is 22,000. So different command in Hashcat. 2500 is not supported in newer releases of Hashcat. Here's the password that was cracked. Now, in Hashcat, if a pot file exists, it means it's already been cracked. So if I delete that pot file and then run it again now, it's not going to work because the file is gone. So I've got to actually re-crack the password. So again, this is a 10-digit Wi-Fi password. I'm using the older method to crack the password. According to this, it will take 2 hours and 26 minutes. But let's see how long it actually takes. I'll press S to get a status update. 14 seconds at the moment. We can see the candidates that it's using. Status again. And actually, it was too quick now. It's already cracked it. So there's the password. Once again, it took it 19 seconds this time to crack that password using 10 digits, 1,095 kilo hashes a second. So in the worst case scenario, scrolling up here, it would have taken 2 hours and 31 minutes to crack that 10-digit password, but it took it 19 seconds in this example. On the laptop, using the new method, in the worst case scenario, 10-digit password doesn't even show. I think it was 2 hours when I last did it, but it was too quick. It cracked it in 4 seconds. So what I'll do here on the Windows laptop is once again delete the pot file, and I'll have to be really quick here, and I'll try and crack it again. So it's starting up now. Press S to get a status update. It says it would take almost 3 hours to crack, but it didn't take that long again. It took 4 seconds to crack the password. So you can get lucky like I was here. I was able to crack the password a lot quicker than initially thought because this is a really bad password. Number one, don't use just digits. Don't use your telephone number as a password. Don't use 8 characters. Use much longer characters. Okay, so this is just part of my Hashcat course where I show you how to crack hashes using Hashcat. In this video, we covered some Wi-Fi cracking. In other videos, I'll show you how to crack variable length hashes, as well as using other types of hashes like how to crack a zip file, etc. Again, only use this for ethical purposes. Only crack networks and hashes that you're allowed to crack. I'm David Bombal, and I want to wish you all the very best.